But ever since the pandemic, this hasn't died down at all. There's still a lot of people who want online fitness, and there's still a lot of trainers who want to provide it.
My parents actually started to catch on like how accessible it was to get some guidance with training, and my parents are in their 70s. So for me, it's a big achievement to get them on board with anything that involves an app or anything that involves technology, because there's a certain amount of onboarding and teaching the tech to them to get them to embrace like how to follow the program. You create a good experience for one person at a time. Even if you have like 30, 60 clients, you treat each one of them like your only client. Just publish them to YouTube and put the whole exercise description in there. Just like give away all your secrets. Because if somebody finds them, they're going to need you to help them with the structure and the accountability.
Online training became a huge thing during the pandemic, of course, 5 years ago now. And, it stuck around. It didn't go away after the pandemic did, finally, right? And I am often asked by trainers how they can get started online training. And I have to say, I'm not really sure. Let me find out a little bit more about what you're looking for, see if I can find someone to connect you with. Well, today's guest on optimal aging is one of those someones I can connect you with. His name is Chris Liddle, Liddle, Chris Liddle, and he's up in Canada and he's a genius at all of this. And I think you're really going to enjoy what Chris has to say about launching your services in online training. He can get you set up and everything, ask you all the right questions, get you going in all the right directions. And I'm delighted that he could join me today on Optimal Aging. This show is for fitness and health and well-being professionals who want to grow their businesses with more people over 50. It supports my business, Prime Fit Content, and that's where I create and sell original premium marketing materials, primarily to gyms who want to reach people in this demographic. So it was interesting when Chris told me that he enjoys training people online who are in this older demographic. And I think you'll enjoy his experiences and his insight and his guidance. Here's the conversation with Chris Liddle. All right, Chris, hi, how you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, Jay. Thanks for having me on the show. I have no complaints. I got my puppy dog mug here for the people watching on YouTube. So today is a good day.
Very good. Today is a good day here for me as well. My mug does not have a puppy dog on it, but I love this mug because it keeps the coffee hot and because it has a lid on it, so I can carry it from my kitchen upstairs to my office and not worry about spills.
Perfect. I
Very
love it.
important. Very important. Mm. So I'm really glad that you're here today because I am often asked by trainers about how I can help them get started in online training to start their business in online training. And I have to say I don't know much about that. I can help them with the content to promote themselves because that's what I do. And it's all kind of the same thing, whether they're doing it in a brick and mortar or online. But ever since the pandemic, this hasn't died down at all. There's still a lot of people who want online fitness, and there's still a lot of trainers who want to provide it. So I'm excited to have you here to talk about this. And before we get down to it, to all of that, just give us your story about how you got here and what you do with online trainers.
Absolutely. So I started in the fitness industry just as an old-fashioned personal trainer. And then before the pandemic actually hit, I started beta testing some online coaching. So I had just a few people that I worked with where they got like a weekly video call, they got customized programming through an app, and it worked really well. And then as time went on, then I started to contract for other coaching companies, just handling fulfillment. Like when you're at a shortage of coaches because there's such a demand, then that's kind of what I stepped in and did. And throughout this journey, my parents actually started to catch on like how accessible it was to get some guidance with training. And my parents are in their 70s. So for me, it's a big achievement to get them on board with anything that involves an app or anything that involves technology because there's a certain amount of onboarding and teaching the tech to them to get them to embrace like how to follow the program. But yeah, within the realm of the fitness side and the nutrition coaching side of things that I do, it was a natural evolution, but fortunately, I kind of got some hands-on experience before the pandemic, so that when the pandemic hit, then I had some momentum, and I found that the people who tend to resonate with me the most are actually like the older, mature population, anywhere from ages like mid 40s and beyond because of that connection that I bring to that coaching role. So like they learn from me about fitness and nutrition, but then we also are able to kind of like have our life experiences sort of as like a catalyst for new ideas for how to meal prep, for how to solve problems, for how fitness can be done with family, for how strength training doesn't necessarily need to be in a gym. Sometimes you can get
Hmm.
creative and haul buckets of water to the garden. Gardening is a great way to stay active, things like that.
Right. Gardening, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I mention that sometimes, and people in the fitness world look at me like I'm a little old lady with my bonnet on, and I'm like, hey, you get out there and start pulling weeds in the
Yeah,
90-degree heat. And we'll talk about how you feel. It's a workout. It's hard.
totally.
My own mother died a couple of years ago at 87, and she couldn't do it in the last few years, but she loved gardening and would have enjoyed being able to do it right up to the end, but she just couldn't. It's hard. I love that about your parents because my business focuses on helping people who are a little bit older, over 50 I say, but that also means 60s, 70s, 80s, the whole thing. And I'm often asked if technology is a problem for them. I I want to say that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. That many people in their 50s, 60s, 70s can hop on their phone and do everything, and that some might be a little bit more like your parents where they need a little hand holding. How do you find that? Is technology more of a barrier for older people or not? What do you think?
Yeah, it all depends. So what I find is like if somebody is stepping into online coaching and they haven't worked with older people before, they're going to find that the onboard process is like gold. And that by creating sort of like a place where like a library where they can go to refer to things again as part of the onboard process, that can be helpful. And what I mean by that is like if you're asking somebody to use an app or even a spreadsheet, if you have shown them how to do it at least once, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to put in their inputs that you might expect from them. But then you have to have the expectation that like you can teach them once, but you may have to remind them, and you have to be really patient with how many reminders that happen. And then second to that, I've learned to be a little bit more lenient on like how they use the app or how they follow the workouts. Some of the people that I work with, they might be like mid 50s, early 50s, and I program customized workouts for them every week, but they haven't looked at them in like 2 months. But I can, in the role that I have as their coach, I've still been able to improve their health markers, things like blood pressure, cardiovascular health, because we'll do text check-ins and we will kind of have like a system of like, okay, for this day, I'd love to know what's your highest protein meal that you had. And at the end of the day, how many steps did you get and how did you get those steps? And the reason that why I ask how they got the steps is because it allows me to better support them in creating like a sustainable model for their health so that they can carve out a way to make this happen again and again through all the seasons. Because I work with some people in like Michigan, I've worked with some people in Florida, and obviously lots of people in Canada. As the seasons change, like the motivation changes, the things that are accessible to people who may have just mobility limitations change. And so if we can address that, like they're able to consistently get a certain amount of steps because they got those steps at like a university campus, then we'll know that if they have an excuse in winter, we can suggest try doing your walks at the university campus. And I've worked retail many times in the past, so I've seen all the mall walkers, like people
Hmm.
who will get like 10,000 steps in the mall. So I'll suggest that. I'll suggest things like big department stores, and I'll kind of gamify it. One of my clients, I have a rule with her, and I'm like, you got to make fitness fun. So
Yeah.
like if you're not having fun, let's just find a way to make it fun. So she is a caretaker for a lot of little kids, like kind of as a contracted nanny or babysitter. So she'll get like 16,000 steps in the day, and maybe 8,000 of those will be spent hanging out with the kids and having fun.
Yeah.
And then the other remainder, she might be gardening, she might be doing housework, she'll go on an evening walk, maybe with her husband, but then that allows it to be kind of part of her identity instead of her feeling like she has to reinvent herself to be like a gym bro or be some like fitness fanatic, and then also allows her to continue to have like that autonomy to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it, book a trip, go on a hike, hang out with her kids.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the people that I work with, their kids are my age,
Right.
and that's why I work well with them because I'm like, okay, I know how to work with my parents, so I know how to work with all these people who are between like it could be between 50 and 70 because my parents are a bit older when they had me. But yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you then, let's back up a little bit. I said that a lot of trainers ask me about how to get started in online coaching. So let's say that the next tomorrow someone asks me that and I give them your number and they call you, and do you do you advise them to work with older people, or does it not really matter to you who they're working with? Like how how important is it to you that the opportunity that the older market represents? And I don't mean in a nice way, like, oh, it's so nice that you want to help old people. I mean in a from a business opportunity, because a lot of trainers I talk to want to work with, they say they want to work with elite athletes. And I'm like, well, that's great, but they don't need you. They've
Mhm.
got it covered, right? So who needs you? Who's got money to pay you? Who cares enough to be consistent over time? And every time I ask those questions, it comes down to older people. So how do you handle that when someone comes to you and wants to get started, as far as who their focus should be on?
Yeah. The thing that I've seen come up a lot is especially with people who have kind of like mismatched expectations as what it is to be in the fitness industry,
Yeah.
they might say that they're looking for a certain like niche, they're looking for a certain demographic. Then all of a sudden, the people who raise their hands are like their parents, their aunts and uncles, and they're like, I want coaching. And then I hear those people say, oh, they're not in my niche. I'm like, can you talk to them? And like, well, yes, I talk to them all the time. I'm like, okay, do you care about them? Like, you want them to get the best possible outcome? And like, yes. I'm like, do you know how to get them there? And like, yeah, it's just it's not my like niche, my target market. And so I'll just help them to see that like when you are building your momentum in the fitness industry, it is not, you don't fit it into a box. You create a good experience for one person at a time, even if you have like 30, 60 clients, you treat each one of them like your only client. And most likely, the people who are going to be your best clients ever are going to be the people who come to you saying, I'd love to do that. I need help. I don't know what to do. I need answers. So it's helping them come to the conclusion to work with the people who are surrounding them now. And then the other thing, just from a like bigger picture perspective on my thoughts towards supporting like the older population, like I have benefited so much, like personally, working with people who are older than me because as I help them do more in life and as I help them feel that sense of purpose and feel seen and supported, they've taught me so much. And they are some of my biggest supporters. Like most of the people that I work with in that population, I can guarantee they're going to listen to this podcast. Even if I don't tell them about it, they'll Google it, they'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. And none of the younger people that I work with will do that. So it's just all these different factors. but I know that if I tell somebody how they're supposed to do something, they're not going to listen. So I try to help them find that conclusion themselves. If they're like, I need to find my first 5 clients, I'm like, well, your aunt would like to work with you, so I think you should start with them, even though they're a little bit older. And you said that you were working with your parent or something to get some practice. Maybe enroll them into your program so you can get some practice onboarding somebody. And they're, oh, that's not a bad idea. And then that's kind of how I bridge that gap.
Okay.
It is tricky though, because some people are stubborn. They're like, no, I want to work with the basketball players. I'm like,
Right.
it's not that easy.
No, no, it's not. And like I said before, they've got it covered. Elite athletes don't need a beginner trainer who's just trying to get his business off the ground.
hmm
Um, do you ever get calls from trainers who already know that this is what they want to do and they want to help, they want to focus on this market?
I would say that there is definitely some times where I will support trainers who specialize in the older demographic. They just don't know how to deliver that online. So that's definitely a thing. And what often happens with them is they'll be like, oh, I need an app. I need this. I need that. I need like all these biomarker testers. I'm like, you just need like a WhatsApp number and start from there. And it's like the other thing is, with a lot of the clients that I work with, not all of them, because it kind of depends on the offer, but with a lot of them, we do like a weekly FaceTime call. It's just a quick, short one. But within that, you're able to kind of provide some like weekly connection because sometimes as a coach, you're one of their like strongest social connections. Like you remember their birthday, you talk to them every day, you're a good sounding board if they've had something that's happened. And so if somebody is like, yes, I want to work with the older population, but I myself am having a learning curve with the tech, I'm like, just start simple because wherever you're at is probably where they're at, and there's no sense trying to impress other trainers and coaches as to like what kind of platforms you use because the end user, they don't care, like they just want to understand what to do, how to do it. And then as far as like if somebody was like, well, I need to have videos to show them, how do I do that? I'm like, okay, just publish them to YouTube and put the whole exercise description in there, just like give away all your secrets. Because if somebody finds them, they're going to need you to help them with the structure and the accountability. So if you put everything out in public, it's only going to help to improve the SEO of your business. People can reach out to you through there, and then it becomes no cost. You could use WhatsApp, you could use Google, you could use a Google Sheet for the program and link the videos to YouTube, and then you have no operating costs. And you could probably find 5 people that would pay you reoccurring monthly, and you could get your business off the ground just like that, and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Hey, are you a fitness professional trying to grow your business with people over 50? If you are, then you need to know how to communicate with them, how to market to them, and how to get them to trust you with their fitness, well being, and money. We're talking about millions of people who are a little older than the typical market that the fitness industry usually pursues. They have more money, more time, and better motivation to make the best long term fitness consumers you'll find anywhere. If you're not focusing on them, you should be. Prime Fit Content is the only content marketing company designed specifically to help you engage people in this group and to help you distinguish yourself from competitors in your community. It's effective, affordable, and super easy to use. Check it out at primefitcontent.com. That's prime, like prime of your life, fitcontent.com. Back to the show. Okay. You mentioned WhatsApp a couple of times. Why
Mhm.
did you mention WhatsApp?
For me, primarily, it's because I work with a lot of international clients.
Okay.
And so if we have any kind of like a restrictive phone plan,
Mm-hmm.
like if they would get charged for texting a Canadian coach,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't want that to happen. Also, just like the encryption of it. And then thirdly, fun fact, when you are transferring like a video file to a person,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't compress it as much when you send it over WhatsApp, especially if you send it as a video file. Or like,
Okay.
yeah, as like just a file itself, not just like uploading the video. And what I find is, like, for example, I've had some clients where they're like, okay,
Oh,
I
excuse me.
have like a foot injury and I need a regression.
Hmm.
And then so I will just off the cuff film an idea for them, something that they can do. It'll probably use like some furniture around the house, maybe some pillows and stuff, so that they can understand right away what to do. And if I find that that comes up often, then I might post it to my YouTube or put it into a Google Drive, because then when the next client asks the same thing, I can pull up that video and drop it into the chat.
Great. What other technical things do people need to get started as an online trainer, particularly with older people, if anything? What, like, do I have to go buy a bunch of extra stuff? Do I have to learn a bunch of new software? Or do I just need, like, do I need certification on how to train older people? Do I need certification on being an online trainer? What else do I need to get going?
I would say that some of the biggest things are making sure that you have some kind of a certification. And then one of the things that I like is to go to as many like in-person practical seminars as possible, not only to learn the information firsthand, but also to connect with other professionals where when you have like that weird like outlier question that you've never thought you'd have to
Mm,
answer, then you have somebody that you can quickly message or text. Or for some people, like I have a podcast of my own, and sometimes when I have a question that I can't answer myself, I'll bring somebody on and we'll talk about that. And then I'll share that podcast with that client. So a lot of the times when it comes to like female related questions, then I'll bring on a guest and we'll talk about that that way. And
hmm.
then we can work through it. But generally speaking, I would say if you're trying to get the business off the ground, have at least one certification, ensure your liability insurance covers like all those things. And then there are like specialty certifications and stuff, but I would say that getting a little bit of opportunity to like shadow somebody or go to a conference or just having like a test round where you work with people at like half the cost that you would initially charge, and you are just totally straightforward and transparent, like
Yeah.
this is a beta launch,
Yeah.
this is going to run for 6 months, you are all going to provide me with feedback and a testimonial at the end, and that's why it's discounted. And then just being honest and forthcoming that you might not always be right, you might not always get it right,
Right.
but after that first cohort of people, you're going to be that much better. And if they have feedback, if future clients have feedback, that you're always open to it, willing to learn and adapt and grow, because lots of times like people will tell me they're like, hey, when I go through the app I can't actually like see the thing, is there anything you can do about this, and then I fix it. Or some people like, I don't like the app, can I just do like a piece of paper? And I'm like, okay, I'll create a PDF for you and you can print
Hmm.
it off at home and you're good to go, we'll just talk over text, you know what you're doing. So being open to feedback, I think, is critical. And just from a legality standpoint, having that liability insurance, which will imply that you have some kind of a certification, because most liability insurance requires the necessary certifications. And it's just that like your population of people that you work with is different, going to be different from others, but it's likely that you have one or two clients that are similar to another professional's one or two clients where you can kind of have a meeting of the minds.
Yeah. Okay. And then do you help people train their clients via live online sessions? Is it all about developing an app? Is it about creating a library of video content? What's the delivery method of the training?
So I have done both over the years. From a scalability standpoint, I find that having a DIY model works really, really well. But then from like a results standpoint, I think the virtual model works really, really well. So there's room for both. But the virtual model, you are going to be forced to be in like a premium like cost. Like you're not going to be able
Mm-hmm.
to make that low barrier to entry. It would be like thousands of dollars a month if they're doing multiple sessions per week with you live, because as the professional giving out the stuff, you have bills to pay, you have to pay your housing, you have
Yeah.
to pay your expenses, and it's gobbling up a lot of time. And then also with like any kind of a video meeting, just because they're scheduled for an hour doesn't mean it's only going to take up an hour in the schedule. They might have to move to a different time last minute, and then you have to block out another hour, or maybe there's some tech difficulties. There's a lot of things like that that come up. But even if it's just like for a lot of people, I think people are getting used to doing like video calls just straight from their cell phone. So a person could set it up like that where they don't have to use something like Zoom. And then some people are clever enough that they'll do like a call through their cell phone and then they'll do like you can screen share to your TV. And so if somebody
Hmm.
who's like 60 years old is trying to follow the exercises and they see you on their TV instead of their cell phone, that'll be a lot more helpful. And then another method people could do that I've seen in practice and works well is if you have a big enough community, you could offer like reoccurring like virtual workouts. So like on a set schedule, and then people can subscribe to like a membership or maybe a punch pass of like they get 10 classes or something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be complicated. It could be that at the start of the week, everybody in your community gets like the Google form for the week, and then they can fill in which classes that they're going to attend. And if they don't make it, then they can't, like, they don't get refunded. So they have to make it. And then from there, you can add their email to like the calendar invite, and then it'll be on their calendar. They'll have the link. And then if they didn't register, they don't have the link. So there's like 12 different ways to go about it. But what I would say is just like think about it linearly, think about it methodically, in that let's make it the least complicated that we can, but then ensure that like on the back end, like your billing processes are simplified and that it is a profitable model. So some people will just do stuff just to do stuff, and then tax time comes and they owe
Yeah.
like 20 grand and they didn't plan for that.
Yeah.
So you still have to have that profit margin to make it make sense.
Okay. So this is a lot of work. It's kind of a lot. I'm getting a headache just thinking about all of this. So tell me, why do I want to do this? Why I got so excited. I'm a trainer. I called you up to talk about getting started. And now it's like, oh man, that's a lot. I thought I could just turn on my Zoom and start a business. What do you tell people to make sure that this is right for them, that this really is what they should be doing and that they can make it work?
hmm One of the filters that I run through when I'm talking to people who actually want to be a coach themselves is I'm like, why do you want to do this? And if somebody's like, oh, I want to make money, I'm like, I don't know if you want to do this then. And it's not like I know lots of people who are doing very well for themselves and they probably specialize in the older population. So it's possible. But like your North Star most likely has to be like around having a sense of purpose. That is definitely what it is for me. Like I used to work labor work in a warehouse. I would operate like three different forklifts, do deliveries with a 1-ton truck, do shipping and receiving and all kinds of stuff. And I felt that if I died the next day, it would nothing would matter. They would just go on marketplace, find a new guy that looks like me, talks like me, walks like me, and they'd be good
Yep.
to go.
Yep.
But then when I stepped into coaching, I realized that you can have a profound impact on somebody through creating a really strong connection with them. And then also by helping them to either maintain what they're able to do or empower them to do even more things. And throughout that journey with them, they will probably enrich the way that you see the world. They will be your biggest supporters, your biggest cheerleaders on your darkest of days. Like some people are like, Chris, why do you stay so positive? How do you stay so positive? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not always positive. But like I would say my secret is that I have so many people with so much life experience in my corner because they're the people that I work with and they're the people I closely support, that it gives me more grit and resilience than if I was to work with a bunch of people who are like 18 years old. They've never had any kind of life thing happen to them. They
Hmm.
think that everything should just happen overnight and they're entitled to things.
Yeah.
So it's just basically taking a self-assessment as to like, are you doing this because it gives you a sense of purpose or you feel a calling to help people be harder to kill? Like I love knowing that people are more resilient because of me and that people feel more encouraged to book a trip to Costa Rica just because they want to because of me. And so if somebody else feels that same sentiment, I'm like, okay, buckle up. It's not going to be easy, but I think you'll be just fine in this industry. And if somebody's like, no, I want to make like 20K a month, just somehow, I'm like, I don't think you want to do this for the right reason. You may later, but right now you don't. That's what I would say.
Okay, beautiful. Tell folks where they can go online to find you, learn more about you, etc.
Absolutely. So I think the easiest way is just find me on Instagram at Christian Liddle, Little spelled with D's, Liddle. And then because I work within media and I work within people with their training and stuff, I post all kinds of stuff. I'm very passionate about my podcast, but you'll be able to kind of like expand from there on all the things that I do by finding me on Instagram.
Okay, good. Well, Chris Liddle with D's, not T's. Thank you for all of this. I feel like we could talk about it and not answer all the questions that people have out there, but they can just find you at Instagram and get more information from you directly. And I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jay, so much for having me.
Okay, see ya. Thank you for listening to the Optimal Aging Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Croft of Prime Fit Content. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll subscribe, review, and tell a friend. All of that helps me grow my audience. I hope you'll share any comments you have with me, including suggestions about people I should interview and topics I should cover. You can learn more about my newsletter and content business at primefitcontent.com and write me at jay, at primefitcontent.com. And I'm on all the social channels. Again, thanks for listening. Join me next time.